All right, day 490 of going live. Today, we're going to go through how to tactically input the details from a subject to hybrid deal. Now, a hybrid deal is when there is a subject to component. So that means you are buying the property, taking over the underlying payments on the underlying loan, but you're taking ownership. Now, it's a hybrid because there's also an equity portion that the seller is going to finance to you as if they were the bank for the equity portion. Now, typically, why a seller might do this is because one, they probably can't get the price that they're looking for if they were just sell it on a market conventionally because of how high mortgage rates are. So this property is in 11711 Lavender Loop, Spring Hill, Florida 34609. The purchase price is $410,000. The mortgage rate on the subject to loan, so the primary loan, is 6.25%. Seller carries 3%. The total monthly payment is $2402 with a $24,000 entry fee plus closing costs. This is a 4 bed, 2.5 bath, 2584, built in 2023. So they probably bought it new and now they want to lease. They want to leave. So that's probably why they can't sell it for what they're looking for. So let's see. So their existing loan is 360, and then they have supposedly $25,000 of equity. Interesting, right? So they are probably in a situation where if they were going to sell it on a market, they probably might even be writing a check to sell their property instead of making out with $25,000 of equity that they can loan out. And that's very common in a situation where someone doesn't have much equity, especially with how the markets have turned when interest rates shot all the way up, as you've seen over our lives for the past couple of weeks, months, really. You saw how interest rates go up. So that produces pressure on the prices of the properties because that drives affordability down. So that's what's going on with this property. So let me look this property up on Zillow, and I want to see what county this is in. Hernando County in Spring Hill. Let's see, I see some photos. And for the most part, this property, since it's built in 2023, it looks pretty much turnkey. There's not much you're going to do with this property. Some of the appliances might still be under warranty if it's a new construction build. So I'm going to assume barely any paint work needed, barely any flooring work needed unless you want to replace that carpet. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's go in and start tactically putting in information for this property. So this property, again, being sold for 410, and you can see that they listed it for 400. They probably been dropping it for a while, so they weren't getting any traction trying to sell it conventionally. So let's do 410 grand right here. For the renovations, I don't think there's much renovations needed. I'll just leave that at about 5 grand just in case there's any hiccups with anything. Now for the rents, the first thing I want to do is I'm gonna look up HUD FMR. And FMR stands for fair market rents. I'm going to click small area FMRs, look up FY 2025 FMRs, click on Florida, click on Hill. What county was it again? This was in Hernando. Pick up Hernando County, and I can see by bedroom count, by zip code 34609, what your rent ceiling is. 34609, rent ceiling is 3,100. Okay. Now that I know that my rent ceiling is 3,100, and keep in mind, if you don't cover utilities, you got to back out your utility allowances from this 3,100 number. And that's why it's called a rent ceiling. Now, if I compare that to what the market rent is, I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to go to owner section, market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. I can see that the average rent for 16 units that are 4 bedrooms within a 1.24 mile radius is $24.35. Now, because that is lower than the 3,100, I have to use the $24.35 because that is the more reasonable rent. And if you ever want to look up the language for what the rent reasonableness test is, if you go to the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook and you go to section 2.2, right, Housing Choice Voucher is what was previously known as a Section 8 program. They rebranded from Section 8 to Housing Choice Voucher to get away from all the negative connotations associated with Section 8. And here in Section 2.2, it says, in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means you have to look at what's happening in the market. And obviously, got to be apples to apples, right? Got to be single families, townhomes, apartments. But you don't see 4-bedroom apartments. So I'm very confident that these 4-bedroom homes for these 16 units are probably single family homes or townhomes, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I have pretty good confidence that this 2435 is going to stick, because it's all within a 1.24 mile radius. Now, if I use that, now I got to plug in the details about my existing loan. So if I go to my spreadsheet and go to K6, let's plug in the details. Right, 360 is a VA loan, so this person probably bought it with nearly 0% down. 6.25%, 360,255, 6.75%. Oh, 6.25, excuse me. Started in 12/1/23, backing out 30 years. The secondary loan for $25,000. 3%, 30 years with a 10-year balloon. Great. So now that I got my total payment amount number, I'm going to go to the disclosed amount of the monthly PITI of 2402 right here. So I'm going to go to B28 2402 minus the principal and the interest portion of my subject to loan and the principal and interest portion of my it says that right here, the monthly payment is $76. I don't believe that. Your escrow is $91? No way. Especially with you being in Florida where insurance is going up. I just have a really hard time believing that's 2402 because there's taxes and insurance that maybe it's not being included in here. Let's see. Is there a payment calculator here on this? Mortgage insurance, property taxes. Right here, even this says 230 and this is 133. So I'm going to add 230. And then I'm going to add another 133 for insurance. Right? It goes 133 plus, let's do $50 extra because insurance is going up every single year. I mean, that was a little ridiculous. For $91 in escrow, I just don't believe it. From a gut check perspective, from analyzing deals over and over, $91 for a property in Florida for taxes and insurance is completely unreasonable. I'm assuming they left out something. So that's why I'm adding in those numbers. After you put in 10% for maintenance, you got 10% for property management, 5% for vacancy. If you rent this property out for $24.35 a month, 4-bedroom, you lose $989 a month. And if you plug in the details correctly, $14,000 and $10,000, so it's $24,000 of entry fee, right? Entry fee breakdown: $14,000 to the seller, $10,000 to the assignment. So with 2% closing costs, that's $8,200. Renovation to $5,000. That would be a negative 32% return on your capital. And so for me, that's not a deal, right? But again, if you were trying to buy a home and you were looking to live there, I mean, that's a completely different conversation. But now at least you know how to tactically put in the details, right, of a subject to hybrid deal. Now, the only difference versus this deal and other deals is when we looked at the escrow amount, right? Typically, we would just back into the taxes and insurance based on a total disclosed monthly payment. But in this situation, that number was so low, $91. That didn't make any sense. It just didn't feel right. So that's why I added more expenses in there. But no matter what, even if you add that 230 back, I mean, you're still losing plenty of money. So to me, that is not a deal because you're losing money. You have to take cash out of your pocket every single month. Again, it's not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. Just simply showing you all the work I do every single day to get these reps in. All right. So my hope is this: you copy my homework today, analyze the same deal I analyzed today at 1171 Lavender Loop using the same spreadsheet. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet? Just go to affordablehousing.io, go to the Get Deal Analysis tool, plug in your name, email, and phone number. That's the fastest way to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And I hope you start your own YouTube channel. Put it directly on your YouTube channel. Because at some point, someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you can say, I've been looking at deals for the past 490 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right, new podcast alert. If you guys want to check out my latest podcast with Mike Kuradowski, he went through some gems, especially if you are investing in affordable housing in Massachusetts. There's some energy efficiency programs that are probably applicable in your state if you can look into them. I mean, the guy was getting windows for free, insulation for free. So many subsidies are out there. Definitely check out the latest podcast I did with Mike. You won't regret it. There's tons of value. Literally, he taught you exactly how he found a deal that no one else thought was a deal, added $3.2 million in value to the property within 90 days. Talk about a gem. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. Hope you all spend some quality time with your family and friends today. That's what life is all about. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 491.